Alright, welcome to another video. Sorry the audio is going to be a little bit worse than usual, maybe a lot bit worse. My headphones are charging. I didn't want to wait for them to charge before I made a video. So I didn't have a chance to do a lot of off-camera troubleshooting on this, so I still don't have the problem resolved. And the problem, if I can recall, which right now I absolutely cannot, it's not in my memory. But I think one of the ways to solve the problem, which is what I'd like to do in this video, is to look at the source code that they have on GitHub for this tutorial and compare it to what I have on mine, see if there's any changes, and then make and commit those changes, and hopefully those changes resolve the problem. Now, one of the things I expect that might be different is the environment variables. I also think there might be a difference in the requirements.txt file. So, but before doing that, let's see if I can get on the CLI. Yep, it looks like it's loaded already. And kind of refresh myself as to what the problem was. If I remember correctly, I think the problem was that there was a server error where I couldn't use my development server for some reason. But I think there was another problem. Oh, right. So the main problem I was troubleshooting, I remember now, is that I wasn't able to get the JSON payload to display in the browser. And the reason for that, I'll open it up in Visual Studio Code. I won't need this anymore. So the reason for that was in the app.py file at kind of the bottom of it. Yeah, so here is the reason for that. This job variable, which is defined as the output of, please no. See, that's why I don't like using IDEs, but okay, that went away pretty quick. But we can see the job variable defined as the output of this method here, which is a class. It returns a class. When we do a isFinished method on it to see if the job is finished, we only get false, and it only goes down and triggers this. We haven't found a way for this to come out to true yet. And in fact, it seems even more of a problem than it just not having a chance to finish. It's stuck in queued. So by the time this gets, so this is actually returning results before the job even starts, not just before it's finished, before it even starts. So one of the things I wanted to do to try to troubleshoot that was see if there was another method to start the job, like .start or something like that. And I did find one. I forget exactly how it was named, and I tried that, but it didn't trigger, it still didn't return a Boolean true for job.it's finished. So so yeah, let's start up now another big problem that I was having is I wasn't running all of the necessary files to have this application working. So I wasn't running the worker.py file. I wasn't running the redis -server command, which runs a number of files to turn on the Redis server. Redis, so that we can handle our multiple users using our site at once, and we can it's kind of like a QoS. If you're from a networking background, we're setting that up for our web page. So if I don't have the Redis server, I'm going to get that 500 error because there's nothing to call out to. And if I don't have the worker running, I guess I don't remember what happens with that. But the main problem, I think, lies in the requirements.txt file. Some of these are just too old to work. Some of them just, yeah, it's just kind of a problem there. Okay, so let's try this. Now I'm surprised to see that I've got all of these definitions. I thought I took out the specific definitions. So that might be the first thing I want to try is before I do, so I want to do a Flask run to bring up my environment, and I actually want to do that on a different. Okay, so yeah, already we've got problems here with the requirements.txt file. Let's just try to install the requirements we have and run it, and if it doesn't work, we'll make changes to that file. Now we did have problems, I remember, with this step of the process where there were modules that were unable to be installed. It looks like for some of these, they're uninstalling. So like for a Limbic, it's uninstalling version 171, so it's using a different version for some of these now. So maybe I'll have more success. All right, so everything installed successfully. In my other terminal here, I'm going to do Flask run. Now I don't have to do the source env bin command, venv bin activate command, because I have, let's go over this again, I have a .env file, so if I do a ls.a to see my hidden files, and those are the files that begin with a dot like that, and I cat out .env, we can see we've got a number of commands in here. Those commands will execute automatically as soon as I change directory into my folder that has the .env file. Now, where it gets a little bit sloppy, and I think most programmers just kind of deal with the sloppiness and move on, is it does this even, it does this not just for the parent folder, it does it for all of the child folders as well. So if I cd into templates, we can see it's trying to activate a virtual environment. It's trying to run this first command here, but there is no venv folder in here, so it fails out. It doesn't run the rest of the commands. So I think that's kind of sloppy. You know, if it were just to activate the virtual environment, I'd rather just remember to activate the virtual environment. But because you can add so many other things to it, like all these export statements, I wouldn't want to have to remember and enter every time. I'm okay with the sloppiness for now. I'm sure there's a way to get rid of the sloppiness somehow. Anyway, so let's take a look at the module that allows me to do this. You have to do a pip install of a module, and you do that into your global space, not your virtual environment, because this will need to be executed before your virtual environment is activated. So if I do a pip freeze, here's all the modules I have in my virtual environment. If I do a deactivate, and then do another pip freeze, so the virtual environment is optimized for Python commands. So now that I don't have the virtual environment activated, I'm in my global environment that's set up however it's set up. For me, it's just set up the default way. It's set up when you install Ubuntu 18.04. So pip, it doesn't know what pip is. Is that for Python 2? Is that for Python 3? There's no global command for pip until you install it into your global space using this command. But I'm pretty sure I do have pip. I just have to specify that I want the pip associated with Python 3. So I'm going to do the command python 3-m module pip and then freeze. Oh, so we still don't have a module named pip. So that's okay. We can still see what modules are installed. One way I kind of like to do that is you can do, so I like to import a module, import OS, and then you can do print OS. And now I can see where all of my modules are installed. And you can do that for, you don't have to print OS. So like, I'm not sure if I have requests installed. I probably don't. But another standard library is sys. So import sys, print sys. Okay, well that's a built-in module, so it doesn't give you as much information there. Okay, but now we know where to find our modules. Pip freeze simplifies, makes this whole process way easier, but it's not mandatory. So we do a pipe grep env. We'll do a okay. I'm kind of surprised by this. Let's go to the tutorial. I'm kind of, I think, at the limits of my just free-form knowledge without the tutorial here. So I forget exactly which module I'm looking for. So I'll be able to find that from the tutorial. Oh, here we go. So yeah, I remember searching, like I remembered that there was env in there, so I tried grepping for env. I couldn't find it, but this is what I'd be looking for: is auto env. That's the library in your global space that allows you to automatically execute.env files when you cd into a folder or a parent folder within that folder. If the parent folder, or sorry, a child folder within the parent folder, and it will execute every time you you are within that parent folder. Oh. Oh, okay. So yeah, we looked, when we started this tutorial, we looked, the first thing we looked at, so right now we're on, I think this is part 4. The first thing we looked at is the updates, and we saw right away this hasn't been updated for over a year, probably more than a year and a half, like a year and 8 months or something like that. So, and then before that it hadn't been updated in 4 years. So this was first. This is an ancient tutorial. A lot of things can happen in a year when it comes to software. So it looks like env is pretty outdated. A lot of people aren't using that anymore. They're using dir env instead. All right, but this is a little bit of a red herring, kind of a distraction. It's really not important how we activate the virtual environment. What's more important is that the code actually runs. Okay, so in the second step to get the code running, the first step, we gotta open our development environment, but we'll see if we open our development environment, we're not going to get very far. If we do a request onto the, or if we enter in a URL and hit submit, now we've got an internal server error. The reason for that is our Redis server isn't running, so it can't process that request. There's a error. Yep, and we can see now that I understand, this is a pretty clear message. We can't connect to localhost on port 6379. And why is that? If we do a netstat -n like grep 6379, we don't have anything up and listening on port 6379. All right, so let's change that. Oh. Oh. Oh, okay, here we go. So I needed to add a switch. I'm not sure which one I added. I think all. Yeah, because before I was just doing, always just timers, I don't need that. So I needed to do, I don't even need N either, because, so I just needed -A. Otherwise, if you don't include the -A, it will only show you the ports that are connected. So now we've got 2 ports up that are listening in listen state. We didn't see that before because we didn't have the -A, and there were no ports that were in connected state. So if we stop the server now and we run that again, now they're no longer listening. So we have to have those ports listening. Okay, the ports are listening both on IPv4 and IPv6. We only need it for IPv4 now, but there's no harm in having it up for IPv6. Let's do a pipe watch. Or I guess we can't do a pipe watch. So let's do a, oops. Okay, here we go. So now we did a watch on this command. So we'll see it go into connect once we feed this a URL again. Okay, yep, so we were in listen. Now we're in established. So we've got that part of the code working now. We can see we went from listen, and we only did this on IPv4. We didn't do anything with IPv6. But now we've got it established. If we go back here, we get our job ID here. So I can put the job ID in now under results. Oh, I gotta copy and paste that correctly. And we can see the request I put in, it didn't work. We got a 404, resource not found, wasn't a valid job ID. Okay, so everything presumably looked like it worked. The only problem is that we're triggering this nay statement now, and we're not getting the actual results that we were expecting. So, but we can see we got a 202, 200 range is definitely good. In our watch command, we've still got established connections. So, yeah, everything seems fine. But the thing I thought would resolve this problem, and you can see also we've got a change now to our repo because we've got a new dump.rdb file. It's always generated when it does its processing. But we need to run one more file, and that's going to be the worker.py file. And what this file does, yeah, and we can see now it's actually processing, and I think these are coming from our dump.rdb file. Let's look at that worker.py file and see if it brings in this dump file. Nope. So it doesn't bring in the dump file. It looks like it reaches out to the Redis server. Okay, but here's our 334, and this is 334. So it processed this one, but now we've got a internal server error again. So yeah, this is where I was last time, trying to troubleshoot this. I'm really not sure what's happening here. Let's try restarting a number of things. We're going to restart the environment. And we'll restart we'll stop the redis server, and we'll see in our watch command that we're no longer, we're in time wait now, so it gives the TCP the side that that terminates the connection gives an extra 60 seconds to receive anything that was on the way, so make sure it doesn't prematurely drop any traffic still in transit. So 60 seconds is a long time for that, especially on modern networks. TCP, we pull up the RFC for it. And that's one thing I might want to do on this channel at some point. But we can see, RFC 7. Now it was updated by some RFCs. So it looks like this is the most current update to it. But this is the original TCP protocol specification, which we can see is definitely a bit a bit old. The considerations they were making for computers in 1981. I'm not sure. This is why one of the things I really want to do on this channel for my mild networking series is read more RFCs. But I read the whole BGP RFC and I submitted a RADA to it that was published. So I want to do more of that sort of thing, even though I might get blocked from the RADA mailing list if I do that too much. But let's go back and focus on this. Yeah, I just wanted to make that point there that some of the things you'll see with TCP, like for example that 1 minute wait period, just kind of don't make a lot of sense nowadays. And if you're really down in the weeds, really at a high level, and if there's a way to drop that down to 30 seconds because you're running out of ports, probably looking to how to do that. For me, a really good instance where you do want to be conscious of that is when you're reaching out to thousands of devices through something like Paramiko or NetMiko, what have you. I think once you're dealing with Ansible, NetMiko, I think they've probably figured that out already. I mean, they have a whole team working on it. But definitely, if you're kind of going your own way and just stripping it down to basic code, you do want to be conscious of how many ports there are in use on your system at layer 4, and I recommend terminating all of your connections on the remote system, because then it's just one connection where that extra 60-second wait period is adhered to, and then on your side it's just automatically closed. Otherwise, especially if you're looping through thousands of devices, you've got too many ports just sitting there open, not able to be used again for no reason. Okay, so we've got our connection stopped here on port 6379. We've got our connection refused error here. We've got our everything is shut down right now, and the connection refused error, that's because we don't have the redis server running. It's trying to connect to port 6379, and we can see in our watch command we don't have that up. So if I start up the redis server, now I can start up the worker.py file. I'll have to make sure my connection is there. Yep, it is. It's in listen state, so we don't have any anything happening yet, but we do have it in listen state. We should have it now, I believe, in established state. Let's take a look. Yep, it's in established because we have this worker established. So, all right, so let's boot up the development environment. All right. And now we don't have that kind of back processing. That's what I was trying to do, is get rid of that back processing. I thought that was kind of messing up things. So now we've got just a fresh server that hasn't had any demands made on it yet. All right, so let's make a demand on it. All right, so that looks good. No changes to our. Oh, we do have a change here. We have another established connection. It looks like we have 2 more established connections. I'm kind of surprised to see that, but so right now we have a total of 4 established connections. Down here we can see we processed a job, and this here's the job ID. So this is going to match the ID we see in our output here, ending in D2DB. Yep, so it matches. All right, so next step, let's put that into our results URL. Okay, and now here's the problem we've been getting the whole time. So internal server error. So we should get some good error messages here. So yep, this is it. So we can't load the plugin sql-alchemy.dialects postgresql. And I think this is because there's a problem with the requirements file. And you know, that kind of makes sense for me to think about that first, because we can see can't load plugin, so no such module error. So yeah, there's a problem with the requirements file, I believe. So let's take a look at I mean, part of me was wondering, oh, but this was modified. See, I was wondering, like, maybe this dump file needs to be deleted so that it's not interfering with things. Let's try that, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to solve anything. But I've got a little bit of extra time to spare, so we're going to try that, and then I predict that we'll get this same no such module error. Okay, so we're going to shut down everything. We'll shut down the worker.py file automatically by shutting this down, because now there is no port 6379, as we can see in our watch command. They're in time wait, so they have to be in listen state in order to form a connection. Okay, and then we'll delete this file. We're going to have to wait about a minute. Actually, you know what? We can actually have these in listen state. That's okay. We just won't be able to form a connection using this ephemeral port 56464. That's fine. This will go away eventually. So we'll start by doing the Redis server, and now we'll see we have that 56464 still in time wait. But once I start the worker.py file, we'll have another ephemeral port 56500. Oh, and there we go. Our time wait has expired for one of our connections, for another connection, so we're good to go. And you can see it looks like we have 2 connections, but we've actually only got 1 connection. We've got, but it's 2 ways. You can kind of think of it how there's a transmit and a receive. So we've got a connection from our ephemeral port to the Redis server port, and then we've also got a connection back the other way from the Redis server port to the ephemeral port. And then, of course, we're listening for more connections, and then we've got our IPv6 TCP port available as well, which we won't need. We won't be doing any IPv6. I think I can probably get rid of that. I kind of want to, because it's just kind of clutter. I'm a big fan of eliminating clutter when it's easy to do so. As you can see from my screenshots, when it involves grunting and lifting and moving, I'm not necessarily a big fan, but when it comes to just on a computer, let's see here. Well, if you see my desktop. But okay. So we're gonna look at only IPv4. So I think we can just do a -4 on it. And I think that's because here. Yeah, so we can do like this, and then we can do a -4 here. Okay, now we don't get that IPv6 port. It's just a red herring. All right. Okay, so we're trying it again. We're trying it without the dump file. We won't get that dump file until we actually submit a request, or we do a post request to the application. Okay, so now we'll get that dump file. You can see we've got things established. Okay, I guess I'm surprised that file isn't there. Maybe we don't get it until we go to the results.py. Oh no, we have it. We have it. Oh no, it's just because this was deleted. Okay, so same problem here. Even though I have my dump file deleted, and I'll prove it by going here and doing ls pipe grep dump. Yeah, so don't have that file anymore. We can see in the change control it was deleted, just not committed yet, but in the actual repo, in the actual code, source code for this, it is deleted. In the Git repo, it's still as a change. We can restore the file, add it back if we want, but it's not actually affecting our application anymore, which is what I wanted to test. But I knew that it was kind of a waste of time to do that because we don't have a module. If that module you used to process the dump file and wasn't necessary to process the dump file, maybe that could have been something to look into. But even then, you just want the correct modules installed. There'll be more problems later on. All right, so let's move on to the next step, which is pulling up the code given by the tutorial and seeing how that differs from what we've got. Okay, so I'm gonna stop everything except for just watching the ports. That's fine. Okay, and then I'm gonna actually commit that change to not get the dump file. All right, and then let's pull up the official code repo. Okay, so we're gonna, okay, so we're gonna have to download it. So we'll do that. Let's choose a place where it can go. So let's download it into a new folder, and we'll call it answer key. Let's get rid of this dump file here. Okay, and now let's download this into our answer key folder. Okay, so it's in downloads now. Okay, so now we've got it here. Okay, so it's going to be -x. Oh, it's -.dg. Okay, finally got that. Oh my god, what a nightmare. Okay, so now we can get rid of that. Okay. Okay, so now in Visual Studio Code, we'll have a version of this code that can serve as the answer key open. I'm going to need to take a quick break. I'll be back very shortly. Alright, so I got 45 minutes on camera. I think I want to take a extended break. So I want to capture what I've got in camera, and when I come back, I can use headphones. They'll be charged up. So that's going to be it for this video. Now that I've got the kind of answer key ready to go, the next video will be comparing those files. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.